Well, we did it, guys. 200 subscribers, which means, as promised, I'm going to be talking about my top 20 games of all time, starting with 20 through to 11. I've never made a list quite like this before, and I have no idea how people manage to make lists with 100 games on it. I found this quite challenging because there's a lot of games I like, and to be able to sort them in order of like preference, very, very hard to do it. But I think I've settled on a list and I'm feeling pretty good about it, but who knows, this might change as time goes on. It was very hard to sort of position them in the first place. So yeah, in a year's time, I can imagine this list being very, very much different. And another thing to note is that I used Meeple to help me make this list. So if you want to make a list like this on your own, I would recommend using Meeple as well to help you out. All right, let's jump into the list. Starting with game 20, we're talking about Coloretto. Now, Coloretto is a card game in a very small package, and it's drafting, not in the traditional sense where you're drafting from a hand and passing along. You are drawing a card and committing it to a pile, and you're either doing that or picking one of these piles to add to your collection. Now, when you're playing this game, you only want 3 colors. Any more than that is going to be negative points. And the trick to this game is trying to put cards into piles so that people have no other choice but to take them and to incur some negative points. So it's a very simple game, very light, easy to get to the table, and really fun. I could play this game with anyone. It's a really good time. My number 19 of all time belongs to Parks. Parks is this, I guess, worker placement style game, but the worker placement is different in the sense that you can only move forwards through this track. I guess some people call it a ratchet system because you can't go backwards, you can only go forwards. And you are moving along this track, collecting these resources like sunlight, water, mountains, and trees, and you're spending these resources to try and pick up these cards that have a park on them. And these are all real places in the world, which are pretty cool. The key to success in this game is being as efficient as you possibly can, but at the same time knowing that if you rush your little workers to the end of the board, then that could potentially force someone else to finish their trip earlier. So I like that dynamic in the game. I also like that it's not as simple as just the ratchet system. You're also getting yourself these canteens, which you can swap out a water to get some kind of benefit, or you can buy equipment that gives you these asymmetric powers. Essentially, you have advantages when you buy these. And yeah, I really, really like this game. A lot of fun. All right, number 18 is a game that's new to me, but it's shot right up in my rankings. It's a really fun game, and this is Inish. In Inish, this is an area control game where your actions are determined by cards that you're drafting. And the card drafting in this game is different as well. You are picking a card that you want to keep, passing the rest, but you add the next lot of cards in addition to the card you just drafted. So you could change your plan on the fly, and I really like this. And I also like that you can prevent particular actions from happening by you drafting that card and preventing other people from being able to do it. I really like that aspect. It's a very unusual game in the sense that there are 3 different types of win conditions, and if you ever match these conditions, for you to be able to win, you have to take an action that sort of declares to everyone else, hey, I'm about to win the game, can you stop me? So there's no surprises in that sense. You can always sort of see it coming, but what can you do about it? Because again, your actions are determined by those cards that you drafted. So you might be able to see the other person's victory coming, but have you the foresight to draw the card that you needed to beat them? And that's a really cool concept. There are some really interesting cards. One in particular is the Bard, and you can use that to gain a token that can be applied to your victory condition. So it makes your victory conditions even easier to win. And that's how I lost my last game. But it was very, very fun. I really enjoy this game. And yeah, that is Inish at number 18. Number 17 is a game that's been described as Tech Tree the board game. And this is, of course, Beyond the Sun. And it is very much true what people say, that this is one massive tech tree is a big part of the game. But I think to just call it Tech Tree the board game is actually underselling it, because there's a lot going on in this game. I like the management of your player boards. The idea is that on your board, you've got all these dice with different faces. And you have to determine what you want to use these dice for. So you could be using these on the people side and using them to upgrade your tech tree, giving you additional spots for your worker placement, because it's a worker placement on that tech tree. Upgrading a tech tree gives you more positions that you could go to and better abilities. And then there's also the other side of the board. You've got this colonizing sort of map, and it's very small in comparison with the tech tree. And you're trying to get area majorities, and if you can pull that off, then your actions get a little bit better because you can get more resources from your player board, and you're trying to fight over these planets for victory points as well. Really fun game, a lot of fun. I really enjoy this one, and that is Beyond the Sun. Number 16 is a solo-only game called Sprawlopolis, and this one really surprised me. I saw it at a convention, I went, 20 bucks for a game, yeah, why not? And some people told me, you should try this game, it's a lot of fun. And man, it did not disappoint. Only 18 cards in just the base game. I've got extra expansions as well, but it's a really fun, quick, easy to get to game, and I don't tire of it. It's really fun. The idea is you're trying to build this city, and while you're doing that, you're trying to adhere to 3 scoring cards that you pick out at random. And I love how much this changes up the game. So those cards are going to be different a lot of the time, because every single card in the game of those 18 cards is a scoring backside. So there is so many different combinations, and you have to sort of use them to the best of your ability, like combining them as best you can. Because sometimes, they work against each other and you're trying to make the best of the situation. So really fun game. I also enjoy the expansions as well. And I'm looking at making a video to dive into that game and its expansions and which ones are worth picking up. But in the meantime, Sprawlopolis is my number 16 game, and it's worth checking out. Number 15 is a game that I've owned a long time, but only recently have I discovered how much I enjoy this game. This is Terraforming Mars. This is a big sort of engine building Euro-y style game where you're trying to build up civilizations on Mars. And I really like the aspect of building up that planet. Like by the end of the game, you've got, at the beginning, it's just a blank planet, but by the end, you've managed to build it up, and you've left something really cool at the end of the game, and I really like that aspect to it. I also enjoy the many directions that you can take to victory. You could be focusing on building up a tableau that gives you lots of different actions, so you're just getting lots of victory points. Or maybe you could be collecting resources that make cards really cheap to play. So that way you're playing these big, powerful cards, and some of them could have negative impacts on other ones. So you might be trying to hinder other people and try to speed the game along and try and end it before they can recover. So that's really interesting. Yeah, there's just so many directions you can go in this game. I still haven't discovered the expansions yet, but I've heard very good things about the one that adds in a bit of a start, because it is one of those slow grind kind of games, particularly at the beginning where you start with nothing. So having something at the beginning to sort of get your first foot forward and speed up the initial start of the game, that'd be very interesting and probably worth checking out. So I might look into that very soon. So that's Terraforming Mars, my number 15. Number 14 is a deck building game, kind of. It's Heat, Pedal to the Metal. So it's more of a racing game, but deck building is how you actually move your car forward. And it's very much a push your luck style of game. Because as you're taking turns very quickly, and as you're dropping your gears very fast up or very fast down, you're accruing heat into your engine. And these are dead cards that you do not want in your deck. But playing this game too safe you're gonna get left behind in the dust. So it's a really interesting game in the sense that how much can you push your luck and get all those heat cards into your deck, and how are you gonna get rid of them before it really clogs up your hand, because there's no way to discard them. You have to cool your engine down to get rid of them. Otherwise, you're gonna run out of cards to play in your hand and you're gonna spin out and you're gonna fall way behind. So I really like that management of what's in your hand and your deck, and trying to, and there's also the plus mechanic. You play a card and you take the top card of your deck, and that's the speed you go. And sometimes you have no better option than to play that card. It's really cool. Really like this game. There's a lot of really interesting choices in it. Yeah, check it out. It's Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Number 13 gives me a lot of nostalgia for a game called The Sims. And this is the pursuit of happiness. This is very much Life, the board game. You can get yourself professions, you can get promotions, you can get partners, you can get pets, you can buy a lot of stuff, you can get a lot of money, or you can just be a deadbeat who works on all these projects and makes no money at all. I love what this game does in terms of the stories that you can create and and what you share with everyone around you. Like it's a lot of fun times, a lot of fun stories come out of it. Like, yeah, the world is your oyster. Whatever's in front of you, whatever opportunities are there, you pick them up and you go for it. And the amount of cards in this game, which are determining what sort of projects and jobs and all that type of stuff. There's so many cards and so many options for you to explore, and I really like it. And at the end of the day, it is a Euro game. It's a worker placement, and you're trying to manage resources so that you can fulfill these projects and you can keep your partners happy and you can keep your job and not get fired. And there's also a bit of a push and pull with the stress. If you take on too much, you're going to get stressed out. But it might be worth it in the short term. But if you get too stressed, it's actually going to reduce your lifespan and you'll get less turns than everyone else. So really cool game. This is The Pursuit of Happiness. My number 12 was one that surprised me. I wasn't expecting to like this game as much as I did. At first glance, it was very simple. It didn't feel like there was much going on. But this is, at its core, a beer and pretzels game. And that's actually a good thing about it. You don't have to worry about stuff. You can just throw dice and have a good time. And this game is Marvel Zombies. I just love being able to take my favorite Marvel superheroes and dive into a zombie-infested world and beat up zombies. Or, if you prefer, you can be the zombie version of the hero and try to nom 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 and all those innocent bystanders. A really fun game, and I love how many scenarios are in the book, and the game is ripe to come up with your own scenarios, and people also come up with their own custom content for the game. So there's no end to what you can do here. It's a really cool core game, a lot you could do there. I love swapping in all the heroes that you could play with, and that because you've got all those stretch goals that come in that Kickstarter edition, you've got so many enemies that you could be running into. You have no idea who's going to show up in your game. And I love that aspect as well. So, Marvel Zombies, really fun game. Check it out. Finally, my number 11 is a game called Oceans. In this game, you're trying to develop this thriving ecosystem underwater. So you can create predators that hunt down other fish and other ones that scavenge from the reef to get their food. What I really like about this game is that The creatures you create have to be able to thrive and survive in the ecosystem that you and your other players create together. If someone creates these big apex predators that just nom the stuff down, if they have nothing to feed on, they'll eventually die off. So you actually have to be able to keep that in mind as you're creating your species. Or maybe you have these feeders that whenever someone does a big feed, they feed off of that and stuff like that. It's a really cool game. It's a bit tricky to explain, but the idea is you create a species of fish and the cards that you play to it add these adaptations to the fish. So they have more abilities or more power. So yeah, really cool game, and it's tricky. The first time you play, it's not so easy to understand how to keep your fish alive, because as the game goes on, they have to be able to pay some of their population to your scoring bag. That's how you get points, right? And if you can't pay that, then your species are gonna die. And you really feel it when you've invested a lot into one particular species and it just dies off. So managing that tableau of cards is the aim of the game, and it's really fun. So Oceans is worth checking out for sure. Well, thank you so much, guys. That was my personal list of the best games of all time from number 20 to 11. Stay tuned and you're gonna find out about my number 10 to 1. The top 10 games of all time, according to me, right? Thank you so much for watching, and if you continue to subscribe and like the videos, that helps me a great deal. So thank you, keep doing that, and have a good one.